signal here. Go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for coming to Build this week. Definitely recognize how hard it is to, God, there's a lot of echo going on. How hard it is to get away from work and life for a whole week to attend a conference, so we really do appreciate it. Extra special thank you for coming to Connecting Windows 8 to mobile broadband and Wi-Fi networks. My name is Billy Anders, and I'm the Group Program Manager for the wireless team. Kawar Zuberi, my peer and dev manager, right here in the front row, he's going to be joining in partway through the session. So here's our agenda for today. I'd like to start off by talking about the changes in the connectivity landscape and talk about some of the notable and critical feedback that we've received from users and from partners that's really influenced the planning and the engineering for Windows 8 and for wireless. Then I'm going to move into demo mode and show a handful of demos about the new experiences in Windows 8 wireless. Then Kawar is going to join me on stage and walk us through the technical details of the wireless architecture. Then we'll have a recap, pointers to other sessions here at Build, and then we'll have plenty of time for a robust Q&A. So as a show of hands, and I think I would see every single hand in here, how many of you were able to watch the keynote, yesterday's keynote? Okay, essentially everyone. All right, awesome. And now I'm just interested, how many of you have already taken home or taken back to your hotel your new Samsung developer device and got it installed and already using it? Okay, and I promise this is the last question right here. And how many of you have already cracked open Visual Studio and built your first application, whether it's Metro style Hello World, whatever it may be? Okay, all right, not quite as many. All right, awesome. So I think the keynote did an awesome job of kind of reminding us that connectivity is really a fundamental underpinning of the modern computing experience. And I think most of us would agree that users are really looking for all of their experiences to be supported by connectivity. And thankfully, there's no shortage of options for users to get connected to the internet. As an industry, we've done a great job of moving users from dial-up to broadband, from fixed wired to wireless, and we've even merged Wi-Fi and mobile broadband to create genuinely ubiquitous connectivity for the mobile PC. The PC has also evolved. The PC is now lighter, it's thinner, it's more personal than ever. You have all-day battery life, we have anywhere connectivity, and we've even introduced touch as a first-class user experience. And application developers have also responded. They're now creating a new era of applications that take advantage of the full power of a mobile PC. And users have responded by taking advantage of the full connectivity options and bandwidth being made available to them. Ubiquitous connectivity with mobile broadband and Wi-Fi really hold a lot of promise for the mobile PC. But even with all this evolution, all these advances, there's still a lot of tractable issues that remain to be solved. Drivers and software. Hardware makers have to go through and develop, have to support, have to certify and recertify and maintain drivers. Users don't have it much easier because users have to go through and find these drivers. And it sounds like it should be a very easy task most of the time, but in actuality, it's very difficult to find the right driver for the right chipset, for the right module, for the right PC, for the right mobile operator. And oftentimes when you do find that driver, it doesn't just come with just the driver. It comes with a full, rich connection management experience that's honestly sometimes in conflict with the Windows connection management experience. So now, if you're using mobile broadband, you likely have two connection managers in conflict on your system. One saying you're connected, the other one saying you're not. One saying, hey, this is an Ethernet connection. The other one saying it's HSPA. Which one do I trust? This just adds confusion to the user. Mobile operators. How do they surface the information to their customers and would-be customers? How do they get a branded experience in Windows? How do they show the available plans? And how do they show account information to their users? How can a user, when he needs connectivity, get connected right there? You have to think about it. A user out in the wild with the requisite hardware wants to get connected, may not have gone through and went to a store, purchased everything necessary, but they may have everything they need right there. How do we provision that PC on the fly? So let's say the user has gone and found the right driver, has the right connection manager, right driver for the right PC, right mobile operator. They've pulled down the connection manager. They've gone through this full experience. They know which connection manager to trust. And I guarantee you there's someone in here that has 3 connection managers on their PC right now. I would expect you to, though. So how does the user that has gone through all of this, now they're fully using their wireless experience. They're downloading music. They're watching high-def video. They're socializing on their favorite site. They're being productive in the cloud. They're just enjoying wireless connectivity wherever they are. Well, what happens next after a week or two? Well, the industry has termed this as bill shock. The user didn't know that they were using data while they were roaming. The user didn't know that Office or Windows thought it was a great time to download SP1. So now there's negative sentiment about mobile broadband, about connectivity experiences out in the wild, when in actuality, we want a user to have these great experiences. Well, Windows 8 changes all of this. Windows 8 makes it easy to be connected. With simplified user experiences, by being smart about networks, and by providing a robust platform for differentiation. Now, how do we do that? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of roll into demo mode. And before I get started, I want to give a little background information about how we got where we are here. So the team and I, we really wanted to target, the typical user. We really wanted to target the consumer, the end user, not the person that has their bachelor's degree in getting connected, so that they can just experience the mobile PC. So what we did is we actually created a user. Her name is Jenny, and Jenny is alive and well at Microsoft. She's totally fictitious, but if you asked anyone on the wireless team about Jenny, they know exactly who you're talking about. Jenny is just a non-technical user. She just enjoys being connected. She doesn't really want to experience networking. She just wants to experience whatever that end user experience is. So talk a little bit about the laptop that I have here. This is essentially a Win 7 laptop, touch enabled. And I want to note a couple of things about this laptop because it's a little special here, that I have 2 mobile broadband adapters in this laptop. And the reason why I wanted to make the demo a little bit safer, I guess is probably the best way to say it. So I have a Ericsson, a F5321G module that is compliant with our mobile broadband class driver, which is brand new in Windows 8. And I have a Qualcomm Gobi module that's also compliant with our mobile broadband class driver, okay? In addition, I'd like to call out 2 great partners with our mobile operators, both AT&T, which you're totally familiar with your Samsung developer units, and Vodafone. I'm actually going to walk through the Vodafone experience during the demo so you can see both. So I just want to call those out. So enough of the housekeeping. I just want to now move into demo mode. So I'm Jenny. I'm at my cafe. Just ordered my quad tall, sugar-free vanilla Americano with room. And I apologize, I'm from Seattle. I have to be very specific about my coffee. And now that I'm sitting down with my Windows 8 laptop, I want to go ahead and get connected. Well, the barista handed me some credentials for the cafe. Oh, I'm sorry, it hasn't switched over. Thank you. All right. So thank you, Guar. So the barista gave me credentials for the cafe, and in this case, it's Cafe Contoso. And I'm going to go ahead and click on Cafe Contoso and enter my credentials. Great. So now I'm connected. Probably not terribly impressive. You probably didn't pay attention to it. It's great. That's what we like. We think networking, you really shouldn't experience it. Just get connected. Well, what actually happened here is this is a cafe, has a hotspot, and instead of being prompted to launch the browser and to enter credentials in the web browser, we detected that this was a Whisper 1.0 or potentially 2.0 hotspot, and we accepted the credentials right within the Windows Connection Manager, used those credentials to authenticate against the hotspot, and save them as part of the profile for any subsequent connects. So we did all of that right there in line, okay? Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up, make sure we're still connected. We are. I'm going to open up this application here. And the application, this is something that one of our developers in-house wrote, really for the purpose of this demo. This application is simply pulling down Flickr photos. And as you see by the green text, it knows that it's connected. It's pulling down the high quality video, the pictures, excuse me, because it knows that it's on an unrestricted network. So what is unrestricted here? Well, we're smart about networks now with Windows 8. We recognize the difference between a Wi-Fi network and a mobile broadband network, and by default, on mobile broadband networks, we reduce the data usage and we try to surface this information up to the APIs, up to applications. So this particular application, again, wrote in-house on top of public APIs, is simply saying, hey, I can more or less use this network in an unrestricted fashion, and that's why it's scrolling, and you look, and the picture should be of reasonably high quality. All right, so now what I'm going to go into radio management, and I'm going to enable my Qualcomm Gobi module, and this module has the AT&T SIM in it. And what I'm going to do is, because I'm only in one place, I can't necessarily travel right here on the stage, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the hotspot. So when Windows recognizes that the hotspot is gone, it will automatically switch over and reconnect and connect to the AT&T network. Okay. Thank you. You're very kind. All right. Okay, so we automatically moved on to the AT&T network because that network was set up to automatically connect. You can also tell it that you don't want to be in a roaming situation, and we wouldn't have roamed there. All right, so now we're on the AT&T network. I can, as you see right here, you can see that we show you inline in the Windows Connection Manager the data usage. So now the user is always informed about how their data is being used. I can go ahead and click on the View My Account and get an error. All right, so I am going to close and exit this immediately. But what I am going to go do here is I'm going to open up Windows Update. Oh, and it's not showing me what I expected it to show me right now. Let me take a look here. Okay, I'm not sure why it's showing me this. I'll just tell you what it should have shown me. What Windows Update should have shown you is that how Windows adapts to networks. And Windows Update is now written to understand the difference between an unrestricted network and a metered network, and it will not download non-critical updates when it's on those types of networks. Now, the user is always in control, and the user can always go and click the install button to go ahead and override that setting. In this particular case, this is what pre-beta looks like, and it did not work. So I'm now going to open up the same application. And you see this is the same application that was running. Now it says, hey, yep, you're still connected, but you're now on a metered network. And so what the application is doing is it's adapted its behavior. So now the application is going to pull down the low resolution photos because it knows that those photos are going to save the person some bandwidth. All All right, so now I'm Jenny. Now I'm going to go and turn off my radios. Let's pretend that I am getting on a plane. And I'm going to enable airplane mode. And as you can see the icon right here, I'm now in airplane mode. We've disabled all of the radios in the system so that Jenny can save battery power as well as be compliant with FAA regulations. All right, so now what we're going to do is, again, I'm pretending that I'm moving in between different types of networks. I'm going to open up the control panel, go into wireless, and now I'm going to enable my Ericsson module with my Vodafone SIM. And this is to simulate, hey, I'm getting off the plane in London, I'm at Heathrow Airport, I see a Vodafone kiosk or retail store, and I decide I'm going to go and purchase a SIM, or I'm going to purchase a dongle, and I actually have a dongle right here. Purchase a dongle, and my understanding is that a dongle like this is around 20 pounds in the UK. Purchase this dongle, plug it in, it has the SIM, and now I get connected. So as you can see here, I am connected. This is showing AT&T because currently I am roaming on the AT&T network. If I click on View My Account, as you can see, it opens the Vodafone experience. So I'm going to go in the Vodafone application, take a look at the top-up. Looks like I only have 18 pounds on my account. It's not going to get me maybe that far. So what I'm going to do is go through the Vodafone top-up experience. So what I'm doing now is I'm entering a 12-digit code that you would be able to purchase at any Vodafone retail outlet. And this is taking longer than I expected. I believe they call these the demo gremlins. But I'll exhibit some patience here. What was that? It's not going to work? Okay. So this is not going to work. All right. Well, imagine if you can. Entering that 12-digit code would have added 25 pounds to my account. Now I would have been able to have a longer mobile broadband experience with Vodafone network. Okay, did not work. I apologize. Okay, so I'm going to move over now back to the PPT. Other than a couple of demos that didn't want to work out. So what did you just see? Well, you saw the simplified Windows Connection Manager experience. So one connection manager on the system that handles all of the different media types. You saw that maybe you didn't see, there was no driver install experience. And the reason why is because we have an inbox mobile broadband class driver, literally trying to bring the USB flash key type of model to mobile broadband. You plug in a dongle, you have an embedded module, the mobile broadband class driver just works with it. You saw that there was integration between the Windows Connection Manager with branding for the operator, but also that the operator had their own account management interface. You saw there was only one way to control the radios within the system. And unfortunately, the Woo demo didn't work, but believe me, it does. You saw that Windows adapts its behavior and reduces its data usage when it's on a more costly mobile broadband network. And the Woo demo did have an install button so that you would be able to override that particular behavior if you wanted to download the updates at the time. And we also surface this information up through APIs that are available to developers so that they can write cost-aware adaptive applications as well. So next, going to have Hawar come on stage, and Hawar is going to walk us through the technical details of the wireless architecture.
Hi, my name is Hawar Zubairi. I am the development manager of the wireless and networking services team in Windows. And today I will be talking about the technical details of Wi-Fi and mobile broadband in Windows 8. Here we have the wireless architecture, a high-level representation of the wireless architecture as it exists today in Windows 7. On the top, you can see the Windows Connection Manager UI. It uses the wireless APIs that are in Windows 7 to talk to the WLAN and the WWAN stacks. And these stacks can communicate with the mobile broadband adapter and the Wi-Fi adapter using IHV-supplied NDIS drivers. You're all familiar with this architecture. This is what is out there today. Now I will go through more details of some of the interesting enhancements that we have made for Windows 8. First of all, we have cost and data usage APIs. These are Windows runtime APIs available for use by Metro-style applications which are doing networking. Now, suppose I am using a Wi-Fi network, and then I move out of range and start using a metered mobile broadband network. By virtue of these APIs, the Metro-style application can get notified that there has been a change in the cost of the underlying network. And after getting this notification, the application can then adjust its behavior to use less data on this metered and costed network, as was shown earlier by Billy in the photo app, the way it switched to a low-resolution mode. Now, as you guys also know, that most, if not all, mobile broadband plans today come with a data cap. So Windows 8 is able and capable of receiving notifications from operators when certain thresholds of the cap limit are reached. For example, these notifications may arrive, for example, as SMS messages. And upon receiving these notifications that certain limits are being reached, Windows can, first of all, adjust its own behavior. For example, it will stop downloading Windows updates except critical updates. And it can also inform the Metro-style applications that these data caps are being reached. So these apps can also go ahead and potentially switch to a less data-intensive mode of operation. Or if the data usage that was available to the user has been completely exhausted, then the app can potentially even go into a mode where it stops using networking until the data cap is refreshed. In Windows 8, we have extensive API support for operators to develop specialized Metro-style apps to meet their needs. Through these APIs, the operator apps can do things such as query the properties of the mobile broadband adapter and configure various settings. Also, once the user has gone and used the operator app to do certain things like purchase a plan, a mobile broadband plan, then the app can use these APIs to configure and provision the machine with mobile broadband profiles and Wi-Fi profiles. This way, the user will be auto-connected to the telco's, operator's mobile broadband network. And also, if the operator happens to own and operate a hotspot network, then the operator app can configure Wi-Fi profiles to get the machine and the user auto-connected to these networks. Now, once we have multiple profiles configured on a machine, then there is a need to coordinate and prioritize which network to connect to at which point in time. For that purpose, Windows 8 has a connection manager component. What this component does, it always keeps the user and the machine connected to the best available network. So suppose I am within range of a Wi-Fi network. It might be my home Wi-Fi network, it might be my work network, or it may be a hotspot. Then Windows will prefer that network and will connect the user to that network. And in this way, the machine and the user do not needlessly use up their mobile broadband plan. But as soon as I move away and out of range of the Wi-Fi network, then the connection manager component will automatically connect me to the mobile broadband network. Me as a user, I do not have to take any manual action. I can continue doing whatever I was doing. And as Billy was describing earlier, Jenny, who is the character that we are using, can continue doing whatever activities she was doing and not have to bother about manually connecting or manually disconnecting from this network or that network. It all gets taken care of automatically. Furthermore, the connection manager will turn off any network adapters which are currently not in use, and it does this in order to save power. And these adapters get turned back on whenever they are needed. Now, one more thing I would like to mention is that the user is always in control. If the user wants to connect to a particular network, then the connection manager UI that's still there and that you have been seeing in the various demos, the user can go there and just manually connect to whatever network they want to, and they have full choice and control in order to do that should they wish to do that. Finally, Windows 8 has a class driver for mobile broadband. This class driver is based on a standard which is being developed in the USB Implementers Forum. This standard is known as NCM 2.0. Microsoft has been participating in the development of this standard along with several of our other industry partners. And what this class driver does is that it will work with any mobile broadband adapter which supports this NCM 2.0 standard. And then when such adapters are in the machine, the class driver takes care of connecting the machine to the operator network without need for any additional drivers. So all the basic connectivity is taken care of. Now, the IHV may have some value-added features, some value-added services that they are providing in the mobile broadband adapter. To support these scenarios, the mobile broadband stack in Windows 8 has an extension mechanism. The IHVs can use this extension mechanism to expose their value-added features and the value-added services through the operator applications and expose it to the user in that manner in a nice, integrated, and seamless way. So that was a brief overview of the wireless architecture in Windows 8. Now I will talk in more detail about power management for Wi-Fi. In Windows 8, the OS keeps the network connected at all times, and it does this in a way while allowing the CPU to go into the deepest idle states to conserve power. Now, for Wi-Fi networks, this poses a certain challenge because, as many of you might know, on a Wi-Fi network, there can be quite a few noisy packets that are floating around because of all the PCs and the devices which may be connected to the same network. And whenever a noisy packet like this arrives, the Wi-Fi adapter takes it, excuse me, the Wi-Fi adapter takes it and indicates it up to the CPU. This interrupts the CPU and wakes it up, so it's no longer idle. Then it does some processing, figures out, oops, I'm not interested in it, I have to throw it away, but some power was used up in order to do that. So to solve this problem, we are utilizing device offload to the Wi-Fi adapters. When the machine is going into idle state, what the OS does, it takes certain wake patterns and it programs them into the Wi-Fi adapter. Then the Wi-Fi adapter would only indicate packets up to the CPU and up to the OS only when they match these programmed wake patterns. For example, suppose a packet is received which is for a message which is part of a push notification. There will be a wake pattern programmed into the NIC for this, and when the NIC notices that there is a match, then it will indicate it up to the OS. The CPU will wake up because there is real work to be done. The CPU will then go ahead, do that work, and everything will work. All other traffic, which the CPU is not interested in, the OS is not interested in, all those packets will be discarded by the NIC, and this allows the CPU to not be interrupted and stay in idle state for prolonged periods of time. Furthermore, when the OS is going into idle, then the Wi-Fi adapter is put into power save mode, and this allows even further savings of power. And now I will hand back to Billy for the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Awar. So wanted to summarize here. So Windows 8 makes it easy to be connected with simplified user experience by being smart about networks and by providing partners with a robust platform for differentiation. Simplified user experience. You notice that there was only one Windows connection manager, only one radio management experience. You also notice that there was no driver install experience, which is a great experience for drivers. And you notice that users were always in control with up-to-date information. And we didn't show you notifications, but understand that when you approach a bandwidth cap or going into a tier or moving to a roaming situation, that you can receive a notification from your operator. Smart about networks, that we adapt to the mobile operator's network. We have certain defaults, such as mobile broadband. We're going to reduce the data usage, but the operator is also able to inform us about the network, about the plan. And that we maintain network connectivity while still preserving precious battery life. Robust platform for differentiation. We support the mobile operator account management, and you saw that between the Windows Connection Manager and the mobile broadband Metro-style application. And that we surface up APIs to developers so that they can write cost-aware applications as well. And Kawar just talked about the extensibility mechanism that we provide for mobile broadband device makers so that they can surface up their own innovations. If you're an application developer, we really would like you to create adaptive applications using the data usage APIs. So if you're writing a music app or a video app or a game, make sure that you're able to reserve bandwidth when you're on these more costly networks. Provide the user with some information about the adaptive behavior that you're taking. If you're a mobile operator, consider differentiating your services by building Metro-style mobile broadband applications. If you're a mobile broadband device maker, look forward to implementing NCM 2.0 once it's standardized by the USB-IF. And if you're a Wi-Fi device maker, consider offloading as much network processing as you possibly can to your devices to keep the CPU idle as long as it possibly can. So Kawar and I just touched on a number of topics here. I have a list of sessions here that are going to go into a lot more depth about all of these topics. I can note the top one here. That one's actually going to start in the next 30, 45 minutes. But all of these topics are really going to cover the mobile broadband, Metro-style applications, the class driver, Windows connection management, Wi-Fi, connected power, low power, etc. And some further reading and documentation. Thank you. And of course, we have time for some Q&A, plenty of time for Q&A. So if you want to ask some questions to Howard, myself, our team is also here. So feel free. If did the hotel support Whisper? Yeah, so that might be the issue there. If the hotel does not support Whisper, then we get into a captive portal situation. We recognize that, but there's no credentials being asked of Windows for us to provide it back. So then you do have to go through the browser experience.
AT&T Wi-Fi network, which do support some of the Whisper protocols, then you will see a similar experience to this.
Can you sense at all it's not working? I mean, it used to be, maybe that was Whisper, you would get a message that you had to go do something. No intervention required.
Yeah.
This is far.
Yeah, we normally detect, we connect to the network, and then Windows does a couple of probes to see if that it can get general internet access. And when it can't, that's where we know we're in what we call a captive portal, and that's where you would used to get the notification that, click here to open up your default browser so that you can go and do kind of a sign up or accept. So that's kind of the predates the Windows 8 experience, where now we support, if it supports Whisper 1.0 or 2.0.
Well, if it doesn't, should you go back to the old mode?
Well, if it doesn't, you should still get that, let's call it the Windows 7 behavior.
I don't remember seeing it.
Yeah.
The other thing is. It didn't work. Yeah.
It did not work? Who said that?
You had to switch to the browser to.
There was no notification?
No.
Okay.
Which hotel was this?
Eventually, you got a failed notification.
Okay.
Which hotel was this?
Samsung.
Which hotel?
Marriott, okay. So we're asking because we'll probably walk over there and test it out. Okay.
Hilton Garden Inn also.
Okay.
But also, like at 18, they drop it, and my VPN connection said, "Oh, well, your ISP is blocking this." Your stuff didn't say anything.
Sounds like a bug. Okay, we should look at it. Sounds like the Hilton and the Marriott. Okay. So it might be more us than them in those cases. Okay. Sir?
Yes, I had a question. You talked about in Wi-Fi about how you were going to have different wake-up patterns and the ability to limit notifications coming in. Do you see that you're going to extend that to 3G and 4G type radios too?
Very good question for you.
Right. So what we've seen is that 3G and 4G networks tend to be much quieter because it's essentially you get only traffic that's meant for you, whereas on Wi-Fi networks you see a lot of broadcast traffic, which is what causes the problems. So of course now we're not forcing people to do things which aren't beneficial, so we just see a more immediate need for it on Wi-Fi as opposed to mobile broadband, which is why we're doing it for Wi-Fi.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I have a question. You talked about Qualcomm Gobi card. It supports both CDMA and GSM. How do the Windows 8 handle that?
So if you sign up to the network that you are using, and you launch the application, for example, if you launch an AT&T application, you launch the application, the Metro style application that Billy was showing. Right.
Yeah, so I would expect the Gobi modules that you're familiar with are either in a mode or the other mode. So they're either in this. So we do not switch the module.
When you launch the application, do the purchasing. Suppose you have XYZ health operator apps installed on your machine, purchase a plan. Then all the APIs are available for them to control and configure the mobile broadband adapter in whichever mode that they want to in order to support their particular network.
Do you support, in the class driver, do you support image switching, that concept?
Are you saying image switching or firmware update?
Firmware image switching, like in the Gobi module?
We don't. Well, we don't have the SIDs in the class driver that actually do that, but we provide the extensibility so that if Qualcomm or another manufacturer wanted to enable that capability, they could do it.
Excuse me.
And so that's where I talked about, I said those kind of additional hardware innovations. So if the hardware does something that is special, innovative, or kind of outside of the core connect, disconnect, scan, et cetera, those are the places where the extensibility model allows them to do those things.
Can the Gobi card show with 4 different operators if you want?
We allow a module to surface up multiple carriers, yes.
You have a gentleman here.
How Windows Connection Manager, Windows 8, will decide which is network is better to connect now? Is it bandwidth-based or cost-based or both or something else? And
How do we pick?
how can I hook up to this process to apply some kind of custom policies to this?
All right. So we have some.
Repeat the question.
So the gentleman here is asking, how does Windows 8 decide, the connection manager decide which network to connect to? at any given point in
Yeah,
time.
if many available, how it decide which one is better? And
Right,
I gonna
right.
shut down this one and connect
Right,
to this one.
right. So we allow, of course, there's some default settings, and the default settings are that, for example, Wi-Fi is preferred over mobile broadband. When the operator app is configuring the profiles, then as part of configuring the profiles, it can specify certain qualities and properties, and it can say, okay, this is costed, this is free, this is sometimes free, this is, there are various versions of it. So that is one way that the control is there for the operator to say what is a costed network, what is not a costed network. And also the user has control. They can go into advanced properties and mark certain networks if they are in a very special kind of circumstance.
Were you asking about mobile broadband or Wi-Fi or both? Or what?
Like any connectivity, any network, for example, if I have like different modules from different carriers and they are plugged in at the same time, one internal, one USB, and also Wi-Fi, and like it's not clear for me how decision is, how Windows Connection Manager will make the decision. Is it always Wi-Fi
No.
over broadband?
No.
So no anything.
So by
else?
default, Wi-Fi is preferred over mobile broadband, by default. But a user can select to connect to mobile broadband over
But
Wi-Fi
I
by their
didn't
user
notice
behavior.
Any kind of UI settings for this.
Say it again?
I haven't noticed any device settings for this.
Yeah, so
You
Any
just go to
kind
the
of
connection manager
connection
and you
manager.
just click connect.
it's your
on it.
behavior.
No, I mean for automatic. You don't have anything like this.
You said to automate it? I'm sorry.
Of course, I can select network manually. I'm talking about automatic. It's like I set up it once and I am forgetting about. I forget about this, so it's always connect to something.
Right. So there is the always connect option that is available, and in advanced properties, there's also marking a network as costed, metered versus free. So those are the two settings. We also have a later session. Which one is it? There's another one on the connection management, in fact, at
That's
5 o'clock.
Yep.
That's the top one there. And a lot of the details will actually be covered in that session. So I would invite you to please attend that session.
Thank you.
Cool.
Will they go over how they actually set the static network, static IP address?
No.
The static IP addresses, that's a general networking thing. It's not. It's a general networking topic. It's not specific to wireless, so we're not covering that particular topic in this session. Although, if you need more information, we can talk offline.
So that will not be
about
covered
that.
in a topic, but if you want to step aside after the talk, we can probably
Yeah.
help you there.
I'm wondering how the connection management interacts with the inbuilt VPN clients and if there is extensibility opportunities in connection management for third-party VPN clients to participate in this.
Right. So again, some of the details will be covered as part of the connection management session later, but we do sense through the connection management, the VPN driver, there are ways at which it can indicate whether it's running on top of a mobile broadband costed metered network or a Wi-Fi free network, and we can utilize that information to decide our connection management decisions.
We are providing Wi-Fi services to our guests, and so I like the way that you can type in your username and password to the connection manager. But for some compliance reasons in the European market, the guests have to sign up for terms and conditions. They just go to the website and mark a checkbox.
Right.
Yeah, that's for terms and conditions. So is something in the connection manager for that?
So he's asking about, well, like if there's a, here's some terms, and do you accept those terms? If you need a lot of text to be shown to a user before they accept, then I don't believe you're going to want your username and password to be exposed to the Windows Connection Manager. I expect you're going to want to have the browser-based experience. Yeah.
So you touched on, you had an interesting piece in there, for example, that OS recognized that and
Yep.
mobile look like a downloaded device app and so forth. Where is that coming from? Where is that provision and how is that controlled by the operator?
So when you insert the SIM, We detect the SIM, and we have a metadata store where we pull down the information about that SIM based on the MZ range, et cetera, et cetera. If there is a corresponding application in the App Store, we pull down that application. But through the metadata, we actually provision the system with the icon, the APN settings, et cetera, in order for the core connectivity experience. And then the application comes out of the App Store, and that's able to give you the account experience that I saw, and that has actually more capabilities where it has access to the mobile broadband APIs to do other things.
As a follow-on, suppose that you had two types of customers using your SIMs, and the MZ data was the same, and one was your business users, target business users, and another was consumer target.
Same exact SIM range?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same SIM range. Would you have to have a higher level app that controlled, are you a business user, are you a consumer, and then from there, it's control which one you pick out?
So I would expect the app could be smart and present two different views based on it. So it has full access to the SIM. It has full access to back-end services by the operator. So that application should actually be able to present the consumer view or an enterprise view based on its own data. So I don't think it should have to, I don't think the system has to do much more. I think it has everything that it needs to.
Check the subscriber number.
Yeah. Yep.
So it can store two different APN profiles.
Yes.
Yes, question there.
And if it wasn't clear, there is a local Windows APN database on the system that Windows is going to keep up to date. And so as we introduce the SIM, we recognize it based on the SIM information, and then we can do the lookup right locally on the system in order to connect you to the right network in order to get you connected. Yeah.
And with the same operator, the connection manager supports more profile, more APN with specific authentication, username and password, for business reason.
Is your question, are multiple profiles supported for the same?
Operator.
Yes. If you need to connect, for example, to a purchase APN and an operating APN, I'm giving an example, then those kinds of modes are are supported. And exactly the more details of this particular topic, they will be covered in the session that we are mentioning, which is right after this at 5 o'clock. So again, I would encourage you to please attend that session as well. There's a question here.
Does Connection Manager support transparent authentication on Whisper?
Can you speak up, please? Sorry, I didn't.
Connection Manager, does it support transparent Whisper authentication?
Transparent Whisper authentication?
Yeah.
You still need some sort of username or password. Are you saying can the operator app provide such a username, password? Is that your question?
Yeah.
Yes, we do have facilities for supporting that. I believe that is also covered in the session. Do you have more details of Whisper being covered again in the session right after this? So again, please.
Yeah. So the operator app can provision the system with with Whisper credentials in order to transparently authenticate against a Whisper hotspot.
Yeah.
Also, we support eSIM, AKA, and AKA Prime.
Question right here.
So yeah, if you have a wired network connection, do you shut down all the radios?
Yes, we do. Unless there's some heavy activity on them for whatever reason, but in general, yes, we do.
The user could override that for system.
Yes. In general, user has control. They can go to advanced settings and change something else. It's not persistent, by the way, because it is on situational basis. Question back there.
You didn't mention ETTLS or ETLS. Are those supported?
ETLS.
Yeah, which ones?
Or TTLS?
One of them is, I'm not sure.
Yes.
I'll have to follow up on which of those, because I believe we've done some work in that area, but I'm not exactly positive.
So if the operator wants to support for the mobile broadband device for the multiple PPT connections simultaneously, how the connection manager on Windows 8 can support that?
So are you talking about
Simultaneous multiple PDP
device contexts or something like that?
Simultaneously, multiple, maybe two PDPs to provide different services at the same time. Use one PDP.
Right. So either the OS in general can handle that in different ways. You can potentially show up as multiple adapters, each with its own IP addresses and routing information. So it would be, in that sense, it would be very similar to what exists today in Windows 7. Yes. So the device, as I was mentioning, can show up as multiple virtual adapters. That is one possible way of accommodating that special scenario. I would love to hear more details of why you would want to do that. So maybe if later you can share some information with us.
Your question is more towards supporting IPv4 on one context, IPv4 on another context. Yes, you can do that as long as the device allows you to have multiple PGP contexts, one for each of those channels, or if you have three, like IPv4, IPv6 separately, and then IPv4 reset, you can do all of those. From Windows point of view, Windows is agnostic to the multiple PGP context. It is the device that maintains the logic. If you have more questions on this, you will be more than happy to take it after the next session.
I have a question. On Windows 8, does it restrict to only one connection? Can it be put in policy that you can only have one connection at a time?
By default, that is the policy. It is also most power efficient because you have one network which is faster, better than you prefer. So that is the default way in which we operate, and we do turn off the networks which are no longer in use.
Is that by policy restrictive enough? A user cannot change it even if
There's no override.
I don't believe we have any policy for that.
Again, I would invite you to go to the next session where we have a much more deeper dive into the connection manager settings, and there's limited control through group policy for enterprise scenarios. There are enterprise scenarios, for example, which enterprises may want to restrict users from connecting to mobile broadband, for example. So, those are the kind of scenarios that we do support. Yes, question?
Oh,
well, I think that gentleman has been put. I see. So yes, if your question is, are the network connectivity APIs still there, available like the NLA APIs? Yes, they are. In what sense? Yes, you can query, Metro-style apps can get this information. Yes.
When connection manager starts a switch between Wi-Fi and 2G, is there any handshake or something?
Is there like a handover of a particular connection?
Or is the TCP
Right.
So what we do is when you're on, let's say, a mobile broadband connection, if there's an application that has an active, let's say, socket open, we wait for that socket to finish before we tear down that connection. But any new sockets that are opened up on the new, more preferred interface.
Imagine you have an application that starts a socket, for example, for chat or something like that, and it's still there for 1 hour.
We will continue to respect that application and let that application use that socket. Yeah, we do. Huh?
If the app is suspended.
We will continue to let it. Yeah. We don't tear down sockets underneath applications like that. And we don't transition sockets either. So. Okay.
It's possible to preload on the specific device for the operator the Metro application.
Is it possible to preload?
For preloading on an image of devices.
Right. That is more of like an overall app question
yes?
as opposed to
So
Wi-Fi.
just check with Srini. It sounds like, yes, there is a way for OEMs to preload applications, Metro style.
For example, in the scenario of download the Metro application, it's not possible because it's a cost for the customer.
Right. Yep. So the answer sounds like it's yes. Yeah.
So there are some special restrictions and various other factors. So there are quite a few details associated with that. That's a much broader question for encompassing all applications.
Wait, I'm sorry, you were talking about mobile, you were talking about the mobile operators application, is that correct? Okay, that's what I was answering. I was not answering generally applications. Yeah, applications generally come out of the App Store.
Right. Now, as you're aware, if I am on a Wi-Fi network, I probably have one IP address, and if I connect to a 3G or a 4G network, it's going to be a very different IP address and a different subnet, different routing, all of these kinds of things. So that's the fundamental thing that prevents connection migration from one to the other, because the routing changes, the IP address, the endpoints change, everything like that changes. What is not over IP? Instead, what do you have in mind, or what could it be over? Right. We do expect, like all mobile broadband adapters, when they come up, they participate in the networking stack in Windows and have an IP address. We do expect that.
As far as the provisioning of the profiles, do you take into account the type of network, whether it's 4G, 4G LTE, or 3G?
In what sense?
Maybe you would prefer a 4G LTE over a Wi-Fi connection.
I see. So as I was mentioning, we do provide the facility for the operator app to specify properties in the profile to guide that selection. We do not try to translate the fact that it's special type of a network and then make that. But the operator app is and the operator itself is well aware of their operating environment, and if they want to connect to their hotspot network and have it be preferred over their mobile broadband network, then they can have the right settings, or if they want a particular conditions, whatever conditions they have in the schema, that they can configure those kinds of settings.
Could you control in that schema whether the rule is based on the type of network you're currently registered on?
Okay, so all the details of the schema, they will be covered in the next session, so please attend that. Yes.
It's possible that with the manufacturer metro application, like for example Qualcomm metro application or Ericsson Qualcomm application. In this case, the priority for operator and manufacturer, which is
I didn't understand the question.
in case of manufacturer application and operator application, which is the priority?
Okay. There is no manufacturer application as such. There's just the operator application. Yeah. Yes, the operators, for example, can ask the manufacturer to provide software that they include in their application, and that manufacturer-supplied software can then, for example, utilize the extension mechanism that I was showing in my architecture slides to access value-added features in the hardware. But there is no IHV app. There's only the operator app.
Any other questions? One more.
This morning I sat next to a guy who's trying out his new slate. He couldn't connect to Microsoft. Neither of us could figure out how to figure out why it wouldn't. What you offer now for when things don't work for people to figure out why.
Do you know if he ran diagnostics?
No. Oh, he started to, and it sort of sat there.
Really? Sounds like a bug. So we offer diagnostics, and we've made a little bit of work. We put a little bit of work into diagnostics. So other than, sounds like the bug you just experienced, that should have come back with some type of remediation for it.
I mean, in the old days when you had the regular Windows, kind of click on things and it'd say go over here and you could at least see statistics. This new thing doesn't seem to do that. You have to know.
Like what type of statistics would you?
How many packets you got, details of what your like number is, things like that.
Yeah. Now you should be able to touch and hold and get some level of properties off of that and some status off of that if you touch and hold. You the touch and hold is essentially kind of the right click equivalent in the modern experience, Metro experience.
Yeah, I ran the connection repair wizard this morning. It's a little bit strange because when I have the Metro style up in front here, it runs the diagnostic wizard in the back on the desktop. And
Yeah.
Yep.
it's a little bit strange.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bug.
That's
Bug.
good feedback.
Yep. Any other questions? Well, I'm glad we left a lot of time for Q&A. This was good. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.